Okay, so this afternoon we're going to be talking about what should be in the contingency plan and considering an example format building on the experiences of the Leicester lockdown here. So just quickly introduce ourselves there. You've obviously heard from Tim. Obviously looking at contingency and what that actually means, it's a future event or circumstance which is possible but cannot be predicted with certainty. And it makes us probably worry about it. Whereas when I read this quick phrase, I think it makes you feel, as it says here, quite optimistic. One thing that makes it possible to be an optimist is if you have a contingency plan for when all hell breaks loose. And I should imagine that's how some of us have felt going through this process sometimes, not always. I think there's been some good things that have come out of it too. When we first started our journey in this process, we looked at all the areas that we would need to consider, and as you can see highlighted there, obviously for everybody the big thing is budgets and forecasts, and looking at implementing over a 3 to 5 year process, phase really. So that's where we got all our ideas together there and considered where we were going to go. Then we looked at that 3 year phase and discussed it within our trust with all of the head teachers of what that might look like over the 3 year journey, as it were. And obviously some schools would be approaching it from different phases. They might be, we put phase 1, phase 2, phase 3, but obviously some schools will be coming in at different places with obviously different levels of technology and different skill sets. From that point on, sort of around about July time, we obviously really needed to put some implementation plans in place. So we asked our head teachers to put their ideas together as to where they would like their schools to be going, and we had a phased approach here, and you can see just part of what that model looks like. We got this model from the Education Endowment Fund as well, and then we obviously tweaked it for the schools working within our trust, and this has helped them to really focus on their journey and where they really want to go. Alongside that, then when they sent all their implementation plans in and we reviewed them as a trust, we saw that obviously there were additional points that we needed to gather, and it really helped us to collaborate on where the whole trust vision was going to go with our online learning journey here. Pulled out some really good areas for us to focus on. Obviously then the DFE expectations came out in August, and it was very clear that we would really need to offer this immediate remote education, and schools were expected to consider their contingency plan and make sure it was a strong contingency plan for the end of September. So we considered first of all combining this with a home learning protocol too. So we put this together for our schools to actually look at and take away, but also personalize for their schools as well. So they'll use this hopefully for their parents. And what we thought we need to consider as well is actually, yes, this is what the school would be doing, but what would the roles and the responsibilities of the children and the parents be as well at the end of that document, and for them to consider that and what they needed to be doing. We then came, obviously, we then considered the contingency plan. And
sorry, Joe, we just lost you there for a couple of seconds. So if you can just repeat what you said for the last slide. Just to point out that there's in the chat there's a couple of links. Louisa's put through a link to an implementation plan. And again, if anybody has any comments about the plan that you can see on screen, or any ideas that you're using yourself, again, please contribute on the chat.
Okay, was it the whole slide, Tim?
No, it's the next one, Joe.
Was it that one just there? Yeah,
that's the one.
Yeah. Okay, so we obviously put together what the school would be doing for the parents, but then on this slide here we obviously thought, well, actually the roles and responsibilities of the children and the parents need to be clear as well. So we've listed that in the home protocol to go alongside the contingency plan here. We've put it into 4 tiers. So those 4 tiers being obviously considering if it's an outbreak for individuals or groups needing to self-isolate for 14 days, what the school response would be, who the staff will meet, who we need to inform, key activities and timetables, who that involves and what they need to do, and then options to what the school actually might do. So option 1 in this case being pre-recorded or live streaming lessons, option 2 live trust lessons, and option 3 planned pathway for Oak Academy lessons, and teachers obviously planning that as it says there. So that's obviously the first tier, obviously just higher, as you can see, it's a little bit more there, but making sure it's clear for the different options there that schools have. Schools are going to review this, our heads are going to get together and actually review this contingency plan next week, and we're going to, you know, really make it personalised to them so it really does work for them and everyone's happy with it. We've also considered all of the roles that people do in schools, so from LSAs all the way down to technicians as well, not just head teachers. It's everyone's role. What will they be doing if this scenario occurs in the school? We need to make it clear for everybody. We've then obviously the next tier, tier 2, is the whole year group. If they have to self-isolate, what will need to be done? What will the options be? What can teachers? What will teachers expect that to look like? What will be the expectations on them? Again, getting people to consider if teachers have to quarantine. What will they have to put in place if they're ill, especially if they can't actually teach remotely? What will schools have to put into place? So really trying to cover every aspect that schools will have to consider. Tier 3 then moves into looking at a whole school lockdown with key worker children still being in, and vulnerable and disadvantaged children, and again giving core key ideas, again linked to that type of lockdown, again supporting the head teacher in their role, and also ELSAs and SEND staff, and also considering the breakdown of what the timetable might look like as well, and what a morning structure might look like versus the afternoon structure. The final structure we hope none of us have to absolutely go through, but could be a possibility, is the fact there is an absolute lockdown where the entire school is locked down, but teachers would still be teaching remotely. We think that would still look like a tier 3 model for the teacher, but obviously this is something we want to review with all of our heads as well. But this is hopefully not going to happen. It's quite an extreme one, the tier 4, and obviously an unknown time span there on that. We've also put some key points there, because obviously schools need to be considering digital devices, as we've mentioned, and making sure that they're available during these scenarios, and also the SEND children who have EHCP plans and remote one-to-one lessons with their TAs need to be considered as well throughout this contingency plan. And then we've also just popped on some ideas for what a blended learning lesson might look like, a model of it, the planning format might look like. So what it's like in school, what it's like actually for those children at home. So teachers consider both sets of children in different contexts, and then possibly what that remote learning timetable might look like too. For EY, that's for Key Stage 2, by the way, that contingency plan. We've also made a separate one for EYFS and Key Stage 1, because in our trust, the EYFS children and Key Stage 1 are going to be not using Microsoft Teams. They will be using Tapestry instead. So yes, there will be live lessons for maths and English, shorter timings for these children, pre-recorded lessons, possibly more of those. The trust phonic, our trust's made some phonics lessons, so they'll be using those. The live group chats will be applied to this contingency plan. Uploading learning to platforms via photographs and comments, and the parent and teacher communication will be stronger here through the Tapestry scenario there for us. So that's what we've covered. I'm sorry if that was very quick, but I realise we're quite tight for time this afternoon. This is me and David, so if you do want to contact us, that's our details, and thank you for listening.